Are you somebody who suffers from nice guy syndrome? In this video, I want to discuss with you guys how to make the transition to go from being that polite, soft, weak, nice guy who's getting friend zoned with women to go all the way into the dude who actually has success in his dating life, okay? And just to clear up some myths here, guys, like you don't necessarily need to become an asshole just to not be a nice guy. And that was a big misconception I had earlier on in my journey. I thought it was either you're this like polite, soft, nice guy, or you need to be this douchey, asshole, jock, player guy. And honestly, I don't think either of them is really the ideal persona that you should be presenting to women. So I want to discuss with you guys how to not be either one of these, how to find that sweet spot right in between, in my opinion, that women actually can connect with and be attracted to, as well as some practical steps you should be implementing into your interactions today to start getting that result. So the very first thing I want to talk about in this video is that I don't think you should be the soft, nice guy, but I also don't think you should be the jock, asshole, player guy. I do think that there's a sweet spot right in between of being a confident, charming gentleman who is polite, but he's also not over the top too much of that soft, nice guy. And I'm saying this because I think dudes think that you need to be this bad boy in order to actually get the girl, and it's really not the case. Although those guys are glorified in a lot of movie roles, and there are certain characters in movies that women do find attractive in terms of fantasizing about these types of men, I would argue though that most women that get into relationships with men, these are not those like villains or those characters in the movies. They're actually dudes who are just cool, calm, confident, and they have some charm to them. So I want to discuss with you guys 3 different things that you could be doing right now to get that result in your own interactions. So that brings me into point number 1, because the first thing I notice about a nice guy interaction, he may actually get into a pleasant interaction. He may even have a long interaction where he talks to the girl for several minutes on end. And the crazy part is you may even actually get phone numbers as this dude, but you're not really landing dates, and you're definitely not having successful dates where the girl's getting sexually aroused and attracted to you and craving you and desiring you. I've broken down a lot of interactions of clients of mine, and what I notice is that the dudes who are typically that nice guy, they carry a couple minutes of conversation, and maybe they even do go for a phone number, but they do get a lot of these reactions that are, I'm sorry, I'm just not interested, or you're very sweet, but thank you, but I'm not interested, or something along the lines of, anyway, it was nice to meet you, thank you so much, you're very nice, take care. That's like the typical response of a nice guy. It's a dude who goes up and has a pleasant interaction and it just doesn't go anywhere. And the very first thing I tell guys, if you want to just start taking the first step to getting out of that kind of a conversation, is just display more intent. Just inject some level of flirtatiousness into the interaction. And honestly, if you're somebody who's more at a beginner level, I would actually recommend practicing doing this earlier on in the interaction. You could actually open with this, or in the first 30 seconds of the interaction, it's okay to tell the girl that you think she's cute. You don't gotta overcomplicate this. There's a lot of dudes online who have all these crazy technical verbal game, wordplay, crazy things. And even on my channel, I've talked about some of these things because it can be useful, but don't worry about that shit. That's like more advanced stuff. That's the icing on the cake. And if you don't already have the fundamentals in place, that stuff doesn't apply to you. That shit's gonna put you more in your head. On a simplistic level, guys, you just want to inject one sentence of intent into the interaction. It could be off the open, it could be in the first 30 seconds, or if nothing else, you just do it towards the end of the conversation just as the sake of practicing, getting comfortable with these lines, because you need to get to a place where you can confidently feel entitled enough to display intent to the girl and it not be a big deal. The nice guy is so afraid of the potential rejection. He's so afraid of upsetting the girl. And I'll get to this in point 2 and point 3, the ideas of like seeking rapport and seeking approval from women. But understand, like, the very first thing, if you just want to start getting away from getting friend zoned or being too much of the nice guy, get comfortable with confidently displaying intent unapologetically. And on the most simplistic level, that's literally just smiling, holding eye contact, talking nice and slow, looking the girl dead in her face and saying something like, honestly, I thought you looked really cute today. That's it. Don't overcomplicate this shit. Don't worry about the crazy push-pull lines. Just get comfortable and confident, holding eye contact with a smile, and at some point in the conversation, telling the girl you think she's cute. The end. All right, you could stop the video right there and go practice that one thing, and you need to do that over and over and over again. Me personally, when I first started trying to practice displaying intent, I have distinct memories of looking in the mirror, cringing hard as fuck at the idea of me even trying to display intent to a girl because I thought it was so weird. I was not comfortable in my own skin. I was so afraid of rejection. I was so afraid of the idea of what was gonna happen if I told the girl I thought she was cute. The more you do this, the more you realize it's really not a big deal. I swear to God, it is not a big deal. But the only way it becomes not a big deal is by going out and practicing this line over and over and over again. It's not gonna come out smooth the first time. It's not gonna hit the first time, and that's okay. My first cold approach was horrible. The first girl I ever flirted with, horrible. First girl I ever went on a date with, horrible. And that is okay. It's really okay, man. You just need to accept that and start practicing it. So that's literally point number one. Get comfortable being able to have a nice, slow delivery, good eye contact with a smile, and tell the girl you think she's cute. If you could just do that one thing and carry a conversation, you'll be in a decent position with some women where you could possibly get some phone numbers and maybe start to set up dates. You start to stack in technique 2 and technique 3, you're gonna be in a really good position. So let's move into the next point, because the other thing that I see nice guys doing is they're afraid in the interaction. They're afraid to have their own opinion. They kind of walk on eggshells because really what it is they don't know how the girl's gonna react. In their mind, they're people pleasers. They don't have a strong opinion, or they're afraid to display their own opinion out of fear of how the other person's gonna react. And so what they typically do is they just ask questions, and when the person answers, they try to find commonalities, right? They're seeking rapport with the other person. And that's typically something that's perceived as a low status behavior, someone that is seeking approval from the other person. And the reason people would want to seek rapport with somebody else is really what's happening is they're hoping that they can connect with the other person. That's why they seek the rapport. They're essentially hoping for rapport. And that's why it comes off as low status behavior, because someone who actually has their own opinion isn't afraid to stand up for what they feel like or even tease the other person. Like if you were hanging out with a close friend of yours and you felt comfortable and you were confident hanging around that person, you wouldn't hope to always get their approval. You would actually probably tease them a little bit. You would crack jokes with them a little bit. You would disagree with them. You would get into a playful back and forth, which is actually the opposite of seeking rapport. It's breaking rapport. And I get this because as a nice dude, the last thing you want to do is potentially upset the girl that you're attracted to. Right? But understand, guys, you need to accept that the behaviors that you've been doing are not getting you the girl. Instead of seeking the rapport, I want you to try to break the rapport early on in the interaction. And one of the easiest ways I think dudes can do this is you disagree with the other person. That was one of the first pieces of advice I ever received from a coach, I believe 12 years ago. I was out in the field on a boot camp with coaches, and someone was actually standing next to me listening to my interaction. They told me, "You're too nice, man. You're too nice in the interaction. You're having these really pleasant conversations. Like you have a good vibe, you can carry a conversation, but you're not creating any attraction." And that's because you're just having question, answer, question, answer. It's very polite, it's very pleasant, it's very okay and accepting, but it doesn't have any polarity to it. There's no emotions that are being created from this kind of an interaction. And I remember the coach pulled me to the side and he told me, "I want you to go into this next interaction and solely disagree. Just for the sake of a drill, I want you to practice just disagreeing with the girl. No matter what she says, just disagree." And so I went into the next interaction, I did that, and I actually did it too much, ironically. And so what happened was that the girl actually pulled away and like just turned her head away. And I felt in that moment a little in my head, honestly. But I then took the advice and tried to practice it over and over and over again that night. And lo and behold, by the 4th interaction or so, I actually got into my best interaction that I had pretty much of all time up till that point. Because after 1 or 2 of them, I learned it wasn't that big of a deal. It's okay if I got rejected. And I kind of found this sweet spot where I could be playful with it. I wasn't so uptight, worried about the reaction when I disagreed. That's what really allowed me to hit that sweet spot. So I got into a playful back and forth banter with the girl that night. And ironically enough, I remember fast forward like an hour into that interaction, just to give you guys some insight into the level that I was at that time. I was talking to this girl for over an hour, and at one point she looked at me and she said, "So, are you gonna kiss me or what's up?" I was so taken back by that statement. I was like, "I don't know, do you want me to kiss you?" And she was like,
"Never mind."
I still remember that. That happened in 2000, I believe that was 2014. So literally we're talking about 10 years ago. To give you the conclusion of that interaction, I actually didn't kiss that girl. I didn't bring her home that night. I pretty much self-sabotaged the pull later on that night, which is a whole nother story. But it just goes to show you that by doing the disagreeing in a playful way, I was actually able to create more of an emotional banter with the girl. And it's not necessarily good advice to just disagree, but it was for the sake of a drill. And what the coach told me actually did have a positive impact over that night for the sake of practice. So what I tell guys is that if you are too much on the polite side, if you are walking on eggshells when you're in the interaction, as a drill, it doesn't need to be that much, but at least once in the interaction, you make it a goal that I'm going to playfully disagree with whatever the girl says. So I could call her out on her being a liar. I could just be in disbelief of what she says. I could say, no way, you're lying to me. That's impossible. I don't believe you, whatever it is. Just for the sake of doing this drill to stop being so nice and agreeing and seeking approval and trying to seek rapport, we're going to deliberately treat this as practice, as a means of pushing your comfort zone and start to disagree with whatever the girl says, but do it playfully, okay? So you have a little bit of a smile on your face. You're not being a rude asshole, and that's what I was saying at the beginning of this video. You don't need to be an asshole with any of this stuff, but it's okay to be opinionated. In fact, girls want a man who has his own opinion. Girls don't want a dude who's just gonna bend over backwards for her and do everything and just agree with whatever she says. Even though you might think that that's what they would want, it's not what they want, dude. They'll actually respect you a lot more when you have your own opinion and you're not afraid to disagree. And as you get better and better with this skill set, it'll get to a point where you don't need to deliberately do this. You'll just learn over time that you can comfortably and confidently display your own opinion on things. And when there is opportunities to tease girls on things, you'll feel more confident doing that. And it's actually fun. I have a lot of fun in my interactions teasing women because I'm confident with that skill set, but it took time. And if you guys want to fast track this process to get better with your social confidence, get more women, more dates, you could click the link in the description. Check out my brand new coaching program that's down below. And that brings me into point number 3. Up till this point in the video, we're at a place now where we can inject some level of intent into the interaction. We're then also breaking rapport at some point in the conversation within the first minute. As a drill, as practice, we're gonna display intent, playfully disagree, and already there's gonna be a difference, a night and day difference in the way that you're running your interactions if you just do those two things. Now, if you stack in this final point, you'll actually be in a pretty good place. Because the third thing I wanna talk about in this video that nice guys do a lot is they're almost apologetic or unsure when it comes to leading or going for the close or setting up the date, or even off of the open. I've seen a lot of dudes going, hey, excuse me, I don't mean to bother you, or would it be okay if I ask you a question? Hey, can you spare me 1 minute? I just wanted to talk to you really quick. It's very apologetic. They feel like they're interrupting the girl off of the open. Or if it's towards the end of the interaction when it comes to leading or going for a phone number, they make it seem like it's this really big deal, like as if they're unsure about whether or not the girl would even hopefully, maybe if she's okay with it, I could possibly get your phone number, or I don't know, would you be open to maybe going over there, or like, what do you want to do, right? It's like, it's always putting it back on the girl. So understand, guys, the woman wants to be led. If she's in the interaction with you for several minutes and there's some level of attraction in place, if this girl's ever gonna go on a date with you or be intimate with you, it's gonna be because she feels safe with you being the leader. It's not because she's gonna lead you to the bedroom and seduce you and end up fucking you. That's not how it works in this thing. It's you as the man being the leader in the interaction. And what that means is you need to confidently suggest the next step. You don't demand it. You're not like over the top aggressive, but you're also not so weak. Just imagine that you're in a forest guiding the woman, okay? If you would want her to feel safe and reassured and protected and provided for, you as the leader would be confidently suggesting that you guys go this way. If you were like, weak, I don't know, like, do you think we should go over there? It seems scary. Do you want to go over there? Like, that's weak as fuck. That's essentially the frame that you're giving off in your vibe, in your delivery, when you're in the interaction as a weak, soft, nice guy who's afraid to display intent. He's always seeking rapport. He's not breaking rapport, and he's not confident when it goes to taking the lead, whether it's moving the interaction forward or suggesting a date, or even later on going for a kiss, or even in the bedroom, etc., etc. But I'm talking about on the initial interaction here, guys. If the vibe's going well, you displayed intent, we've been talking for a couple minutes, it's okay to suggest to the girl in a reassuring, confident way, we should go do blank sometime. You can present that idea to the girl. If you guys have been talking, I recommend just asking her what she typically does for fun, and then you can talk about what you like to do for fun, and then you ask her what she does over the weekend, and then you can suggest that you guys do something over the weekend. It does not need to be a big deal. You don't need to be apologetic about it. The vibe and the delivery should be confident, fun, reassuring, not a big deal. That's how it's done. And don't overcomplicate it. It's literally something as simple as, we should grab a coffee sometime. Yeah, I don't know what you're up to this weekend. Maybe we can meet up at some point to grab a drink or a bite to eat. It's literally that. That is all it is. I have guys that come to me and they're saying, yeah, I really need help with my closing and I can't get dates lined up. I just don't know how to ask the girl out. How do I ask out my crush? Look, you don't make a big deal about it. It's the way you run the interaction. When you can display some level of intent, there's some teasing and flirtatiousness going on. You can carry a conversation for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Towards the end of it, all you need to do is say, we should go do blank sometime. That's it, man. It's not a big deal, but it is on you to bring it to that point, and you can't be a pussy with it. You can't be like, so yeah, I don't know, maybe like, would you be cool with giving me your phone number? Do you want to do numbers? Dude, you need to practice and understand, lead confidently. Lead confidently. We should meet up and grab a drink at some point. We should go get a coffee at some point. We should go get a drink or a bite to eat. We should get a coffee or a bite to eat. You should come out with us sometime. We usually go out on the weekends. I'll hit you up. Okay, that's all it is. The thing that you're afraid of is you're worried that the girl's gonna say no, and so you do it in a fucking weak way. But what you don't understand is that's actually confirming she's gonna say no. What's gonna happen from that is she's gonna say, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Or she's gonna say, yeah, sure, take my number. But she's just trying to be polite and not reject you in that moment because she sees how soft you are. I promise you, she would react so much differently if you could do these 3 things, man. Display intent confidently, break rapport at some point, you get into a playful back and forth banter, you spend a couple minutes with small talk getting to know each other, and then at some point you say, yeah, we should go get a drink or a bite to eat sometime. We should go grab a coffee sometime. I don't know what you're up to this weekend, but you should come out. I'll hit you up if you want to come out this weekend. It's literally that simple. I know there's all this fucking technical game online. That's like the final 1% that everybody nerds the fuck out on, and they can't even do these 3 things. Like, this is the foundation to just stop being a nice guy. You can still be a confident, cool, charming gentleman if you just do these 3 things. And then you run a nice, pleasant conversation, but keep in mind, you do need to break rapport at some point. You tease, you flirt, you break rapport, and then the rest of the interaction can be legitimately charming and pleasant. You suggest a date, you get a phone number, you follow up with the girl, you move it towards a date. That's how it's done, dude. That's the first couple steps to getting away from the nice guy. I'm not gonna turn you into a bad boy in one video, and I think anyone else that tells you could do that in one video, it's honestly unrealistic. My advice for you guys is take some time to just do these 3 skill sets. Go out and practice these skill sets on a daily or weekly basis and get comfortable with them. Because the more you can internalize these concepts, the more smoothly you could be with your delivery where it doesn't seem like a big deal. You'll actually get results just off of that. If you see some of my interactions online, my game's pretty chill. Go look at the infields on the channel. Some of that game is pretty chill. There's some times where I'm fun and I'm teasy and I'm flirty. You know, take a little bit of that and sprinkle it in, but on a more simplistic level, just do these 3 things. All right, if you want to fast track your results with this, or maybe you've been watching all the content, but you still can't achieve this in your own life and you need help with it, click the link below. I do have a brand new coaching program in place, so you can check that out. Click the link down below. That's all for this video, guys. Peace out.